We have here photographer Mélissa Baptiste, who is going to be talking about women in photography. So as you guys see there on the screen, we're going to be getting down to what it really takes to be a woman in this industry, as far as starting a business, being a photographer in general as a woman. And I'm guessing we're going to segue into just various different tributaries of, things that you've encountered in your path, your career getting to this point, and where we think it might be going in the future. So again, welcome to everyone who's joining us now on Zoom, and to those of you who are watching us on Facebook. As you know, if you do have a question or comment and you're watching from Facebook, please leave a comment in the comment section or a question. We'll get it asked to Mélissa over here. And for those of you joining us in Zoom, please utilize the Q&A feature, and we will get that question asked to Mélissa as well. So Mélissa, welcome, first of all, to the B&H virtual event space. It's a pleasure to have you. We always like providing content that is not only relevant, but content that is also unique, and content that pushes the envelope, rather than staying with the same stuff that we're always hearing about. It's like, editing, Lightroom, wedding photography, lighting in general, portraiture, is something, we see whenever we log into anything photography related. So talking about women in photography is something that we don't see enough of. And it's one of those industries that was male dominated for so many years. And now women have gained a foothold and are really pushing it to the forefront.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be with you all today. And as Derek said, I'll be covering women in photography, giving you guys the raw truth and not the JPEG version of how it is to start a business as a woman in the creative industry. So just ask question, and so let's get into it.
Let's go.
So Mélissa Baptiste is also known as Mélissa B Studio online. So Mélissa B Studios is my business name. That's what I go by behind on social media. And the business mantra is capturing life, making memories, and creating art. So basically, we want to cover all your memories, I even do like high-end shoots and beauty shoots. So we cover everything. So a little about me. I'm a New York-based photographer, and I'm known for capturing portraits that conveys people's individuality and emotions. I gained an interest in photography during my senior year of high school. I took a digital photography class. Shout out to Elmont Memorial High School and Miss Grenier that really pushed, if it wasn't for that class, I would have never really got an interest into photography. So after that class, I graduated high school and went to college. And after my first year of college, I'm like, I think I'm ready to buy my own camera and try to experiment and just take pictures for fun. So as I was doing that, so my first year of college ended in 2016. So summer 2016, I bought my first camera, a Canon T6. And I was so excited when I got that camera. So that whole summer, all my friends and family, they know I was basically taking pictures of everything and anyone. I'm like, okay, we're going to the park. Oh, I'm bringing my camera. We're going to the city. Oh, I'm bringing my camera. So after I seen that this is something I really like, and people actually like the photos, and I really enjoy editing. Like low-key, I really enjoy editing.
You're one of the few people that really enjoys editing, I think.
Especially beauty, portraits, that's my thing. So after that whole summer, I decided to learn more about photography in general and also the business side. So I took photography classes, attended different workshops around the city, and even in college, I took a couple of visual arts classes. And then right after that, I went to a couple changes in the business. People that have been there when I first started, my name was Cupcake Photography. Very childish. I know. Then we moved on to clear image photography. Then now we finally have an established name. I'm not changing it again. And now it's Mélissa B Studios. So during this presentation, I'm gonna focus on 3 main points, and it's gonna be turning a passion into a business, how to balance being a creative and an entrepreneur, and also a little tips and trick on how to take portrait on your professional camera or on your cell phone. So starting a business in the creative industry is a completely different ballgame because you're a service. So it's not like you're selling t-shirts or products or hair. So it's very hands-on because you're the employer, you're getting to the clients, and you're also the worker. So you have to be customer service professional, and also, oh, I need to edit all these pictures and push them out. And so it's kind of a lot, but it's possible to make it work. So the first few years are going to be trial years before you really establish your voice as an entrepreneur and your aesthetic as a creative. So the road from passion to business will solely depend on you and your ambition, resilience, hard work, persistence, and commitment, because it gets hard. Like, you have to want it to keep going, because you're the only person that can make it work. Like, you take the pictures, you're the one that's interacting with clients. Like, you have to do everything. So if you think you're just gonna, oh, I'm just gonna start like the business just by taking the pictures, but there's a lot of background work that you have to be ready to do, and you definitely have to be ready to learn, because the photography game is always changing. There's always a new way to like edit or improve yourself, or new software that always coming out. So you have to always be willing to learn in the photography aspect and also in the business aspect, because now, like, let's say a client has to pay you, you can't only have one source of like payment option. Now there's Cash App, Venmo, Zelle. So you have to be acquainted to all these different moving parts and also learn as you go so you can succeed.
Melissa, how do you think, like, what's your approach to, you're just starting out. So obviously you're trying this, I'm saying, if somebody's just starting out, they're trying to figure out their place in the industry, and they're trying to balance the creative aspect with the business aspect. Should people be saying no when they're first starting out, or should they, where it's something where it's not really my style, I don't really want to do that, I'm going to kick that and not take the job? Or do you feel like people should be saying yes to jobs that even then they might not be so passionate about? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that they should, when you first start out, you have to try everything to see what you really don't like and really like. Because you could say, oh, I don't like shooting weddings. But then you go there and then you're shooting all these beautiful group pictures and portraits of the bride and the groom. And it's like, oh my God, I really like capturing those personal moments. So I think when you first start out, you have to try everything to really know, like, okay, I could do weddings, but I don't do wedding because I don't like it. I rather do, let's say, children portraits or product shoots. Like, you have to try everything before you're like, oh, I don't like this, or this is not my thing. For me, like, that's what I say, because that's how I know, like, okay, portrait is my thing, because I tried everything. I don't mind shooting. Like, I say that you want to shoot anything, Melissa's down to shoot anything. But I know, like, okay, I really like portraits. That's really my thing. And people, like, okay, they know Melissa. Oh, Mélissa B Studio, she does portraits really good. So when you first start out, you definitely have to try out all the different niches to see, like, what you really like and what you really don't like. And just to have it, like, in your belt, like, yeah, I shot a wedding before. Yeah, I did product,
We've all done it.
Yes.
Although some of the stuff you stay with, like, I'll never go near another wedding again, I'll tell you that.
See? Because you try, so you know.
Exactly. No, I think that's great advice.
So the next part will be balancing the moving parts. Being an entrepreneur and a creative is all about balance. Having a passion for creative work is one thing, but having the determination to pursue it and turn it into something fruitful is very different. And find what works for you, set achievable goals, and know your limits. So when you're just starting out, don't expect you're gonna have, let's say, 10 clients each week, because you have to be realistic. People don't know you yet. People have to try it out. People like to see how you shoot other people first, then come to you. This is what I see a lot in this business. Like they're like, say, oh, you shot my friend's party. Oh, let me book you for my party. Like that's how, a lot of word of mouth. Like that's why customer service needs to be on 100. Like literally, customer service needs to be on 100. But you have to set achievable goals. So let's say you're just starting out. Let's say in a month you could project, oh, in a month I want to have 10 clients. That's pretty realistic than saying in a week I want to have 10 clients and stuff like that. And things to remember is always to keep an open mind, learn and acquire new knowledge. Like I said before, the creative world and the business world is always moving and always changing. So you have to keep up. And design a business plan. Don't just go in there like, oh, I have a camera now, let me start. So you need to have like, you need to be not super established, but have certain basic stuff like a logo so they could like know who you are, have a standard contract so clients don't play with you. Take it from me. I did not have contracts and it almost went left, but now I have a contract.
How early on in your business do you line up all that stuff? You know, so how early on do you have to approach? Is it something where people can kind of limp in, or should people talk to like a business attorney or an accountant before they even take the steps to be like a state certified business?
I feel like as soon as they know that they really want to do this, even if it's as a side hustle, you should have these legal stuff situated because people will try you.
Yeah.
Especially for a woman in this business, they will try you. So I made the mistake to wait a year to do all of this. So I'm telling you guys, if you're interested
from experience,
the creative world, or you're a freelancer, definitely have a contract ready and have all your business stuff in order, because just to avoid any headaches. Like if you don't like headaches, definitely do these stuff.
Well, I feel like social media has kind of clouded the water on that, because you look at, people are looking at people who post pictures online, get a high follower count, people reach out to them. You never see the legal aspect. All people see is the pictures, the likes, the comments. People don't think about all this stuff that you're bringing up, the business plan, the budget. Like people are like, wait, you mean I don't just post pictures on Instagram and checks come in the mail?
Absolutely not. So I do see, I say social media, there are other photographers that do it. They don't have a traditional contract. It's more so like on the website, people do everything and they sign like an agreement with a few lines. And I'm like, that also works. It works if the people read it. But I feel like with the contract, the person is signing it. And my contract is like a page and a half. It's not really long, but it goes over like everything. So if someone is like, oh, when am I getting my pictures back? Go back to the contract because it's in there. Because I don't like, so if everything is on the paper, you don't have to go there's no back and forth with the emails. It's straightforward. Once you send the contract out, everything is in the contract. You need more pictures, it's in the contract. You want prints, it's in the contract. Oh, when am I getting my pictures? It's in the contract. Oh, my pictures are on your website. I didn't agree to this. Yes, you did. You signed the contract. So it avoids a lot of headaches when starting out. And people should just do it. And a lot of people are actually shocked when I'm like, oh, there's a photography agreement. They're like, oh, okay.
I guess a lot of people don't think about it until you really have to. And at that point, usually it's too late because it's like, somebody's suing you or take my images down or this or that.
Exactly. That's why I said with me, literally, it was from experience. Story time. Doing this wedding, and that's when I was just first or second year I was doing this. So we did the wedding, it's fine. I did these people's engagement photos. So I was like, okay, they already know the deal. They know what's up. Now the wedding is done and everything is done, but now they're giving issues to give final payments. And I'm just like, sir, we have an understanding, like the wedding is over now. You have to follow up. And then that's when I see, like, if I have a contract, this would have never happened. Like if they signed something, this would never happen, because all of my interactions before was just through DMs or just regular emails, but there was no like contracts solidifying the business agreement. So yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being a problem. And again, for those of you that are listening, learn. It's always easier to learn from somebody who's been there. Just trust them. Trust them that it's not fun. You don't want to have to go through the legal process, especially for something that is as simple as, like Melissa said, it doesn't have to be this complicated legal agreement. There are attorneys, and there's like stuff like what is it, LegalZoom. You can go on LegalZoom and get, for really cheap, you can get a photography agreement or just like a basic licensing agreement. So it doesn't take a lot of work and it doesn't cost a lot of money, but it is something that you want to cover yourself.
Exactly. And all you have to do is keep the copy and then switch up the information each time you have to send it out. So it's pretty easy. So yeah, definitely put that in your business plan. Have an agreement, some type of agreement ready that people could sign, and have a strict budget, especially if you're funding yourself. Don't go out and buy all the latest photography products that comes out every time they comes out. Like, start with something like, I started with the Canon C6. Then as I was growing, I got a Canon M6, a mirrorless. But it's like, you don't have to buy everything as soon as it comes out. Like, you could start with the camera and a flash, basic. And for studio, there's low end, well, not low end, but like pretty reasonable prices studio that you can rent out around the city and in Brooklyn. So you don't have to buy all these equipment as soon as you start out, because you don't know how many clients you're going to get each month or how many clients you're going to get for the year, and you have all these stuff. And if you buy it on your credit card, like, who's going to pay the credit card if you're not getting clients?
Well, I think one thing that a lot of people fail to think about when they're pricing, you're talking about like budget and pricing and all, and setting up your business for success. A lot of people don't factor in the cost of gear and replacing gear into the jobs that they're doing. And that's one thing that I always see people where it's like, okay, it's been 4 or 5 years. I need new gear. And guess what? I haven't been saving for it. And it doesn't just fall out of the sky.
You bring out a great point, Derek. So the money you're making from your business, if you have, let's say you have another job, a 9-to-5, and you also have the business, 50% of any payment I get goes to like photography saving, and the other 50, or you could do it less, like however you like. The other 50 goes to like me. So you need to have an account for your business, or if you don't want to get an account yet, since you're just starting out, just put the money aside for your business. If you know you're going to keep touching it, just give it to somebody like your parent, or just put it somewhere you're not going to go in.
Anybody needs, I'll watch anybody's money if they need.
Yeah, Derek will watch it for you, because you can't just be like, oh, I made $250 today. Oh, that's my $250 to blow. No, you made $250. $150 is for photography. You could go blow $100. So you should definitely have that mindset, because the business should be funding itself at a certain point. Yes, when you start out, you're investing all this money that's gonna bring you more money, but in the long run, your goal should be for the business to fund itself.
And I think an interesting point to point out too is a lot of people, when they're just starting out, they're doing jobs for cash, for friends. And you're not going to get, a W-9 sent to you by your friend that paid you in cash. But when you start working, if you want to move into commercial work and you want to, brands to reach out, yes, you have to pay taxes on that money. So it's like, a lot of people, they're so used to working for cash that they don't think about, they get that first big check, or where they maybe do a commercial job and they get paid $5,000 and they go out and they spend $5,000. And then when they file their taxes next year, they're like, well, why do I owe all this money? So it's, it's something that people don't think about. You see the money, they see the dollar signs, but they don't think about, there's taxes that they have to pay. And like you said, setting money aside for other things.
Exactly. And the IRS don't play. Just don't play.
I don't want to find out.
So definitely, before you start, definitely have a business plan and a strict budget. And also have a parent, a family member, or a friend in charge of holding you accountable. So this is where it comes in, like, for example, with the budget. If you did this shoot or gig, that person should be there to be like, okay, make sure you put that percentage aside. Remember to do that. Like, just someone to hold you accountable, you know. Oh, make sure you send these pictures. Oh, don't forget you have to do something. Or, oh, you have this shoot today, don't forget to pack your bags. Just someone that's involved with you so you don't feel all alone, because it is a lot when you are in the creative world as a creative and an entrepreneur. So yeah, and be realistic with your business move during your startup. So this goes back to what I was saying. Don't expect 10 clients in a week if you're just starting out. So
what do you think is a good number to shoot for? I mean, because you're talking about, you're doing everything at this point, right? You're just starting out. You're promotion, you're running the business, you're answering phones, answering emails, trying to get new business, as well as shooting and editing. So is there a number that you feel comfortable for people who are starting out? How many jobs per week? If they're just doing like lifestyle shoots. Where did you start? When you first started, were you doing 2, 3 a week? It varied.
Like, I could say monthly for me, because when I just started, I was in college and I was working and I was doing the photography thing. So my time was pretty limited. I only had the weekends really available to shoot. So I could say in a weekend I could have max 3 clients, max 3. But that's just because my schedule was crazy at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So in a week, if you do have the time and if you're only focusing on photography, 6, because you need time to edit those back. And I know there's people that do overnights. I'm not one of those people. I take like a good 3 to 4 days because after I take the pictures, they need to stay there and I have to look at them the next day, or my judgment is going to be so clouded. So my editing process is I don't think it's long. It's average compared to people that do it overnight. If you're like an overnight editor, I feel like maybe you could take on more, but then you're going to burn out your fuel. Like you need time to recharge. Plus you're staring at a computer for 4 hours, 5 hours. That's a lot. So I think 6 is even pushing it. 5 in a week.
When it's also expectation, if you're setting an expectation that it's going to take you 3-4 days, or some people are saying, look, give me 2 weeks for the images. As long as you're setting that expectation and meeting it, it works back to what you're saying about having a plan. You're not just going into it and I'll edit the pictures when I get to it. And you have to understand that, you might only have 2 jobs in a week now. And so you might have to change whatever your plan is when you get to the point where you're taking 10 jobs in a week, where if you're only doing 2 jobs in a week, you might be able to handle getting them back in 1 to 2 days. But then when you're doing 10 jobs a week, you might need to extend that time out to, hey, I'm going to need 2 weeks to get you the images.
Exactly. And make sure you write that in the contract. So people are not like, when am I getting my pictures? It's in the contract.
Exactly.
And put the effort in consistently to make your business grow. So this last bullet is very important because this goes for marketing and advertising. That's a big part when you are your own boss and you have to do everything, because people are not going to know about you if you're not marketing yourself. And if you're not active on social media, you don't have to post pictures like all the time or like every day on your main page, but be active with the stories. That's why I really love Instagram stories, because people check that more often than they check your main page at first. Because me, I know, like sometimes people post pictures, I see it like a week later and it says, oh, posted a week ago. I'm like, wow. Oh, and Instagram algorithm, don't even get me started on that because it's a whole... But so stories are very, very helpful when it comes to marketing. And if you have friends and family and you make like a standard flyer on Canva, Canva is super great. If you're just starting out and you need a free platform to do your advertising on, definitely use Canva. Love them. This is not sponsored, but Canva is really good. So if you make a flyer, send it to your family and friends so they could post it on their social medias and the word gets out more. And definitely network, go to events. There's like, especially here in New York, there's a lot of photography events or even or not even photography, creative events, excuse me, that brings in different creatives from different fields. It could be like designers, models, photographers, creative directors, to get your name out there. Because if you just stay home and you could be the best editor ever, but nobody's gonna know if you're not marketing and advertising your brand. Like, you have to do that. So yeah, and everyone has a different, so balancing the moving parts. So everyone has it's different for everyone. So everyone is gonna have to deal with their moving parts by themselves and finding a balance that's gonna help them. So let's say you have a 9 to 5 and you go to school and you're doing this. You need to like try to block out time to focus on the business and still give time to it for it to grow. If you're not doing that, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna just take care of this in like 2 weeks. No, like at least post. If you don't have a lot of time, I would say at least post like once a week so people can know like, okay, she's still alive. There's still a business. Cool. You know, stuff like that. So that's very important. Now we're gonna talk about tips for capturing portraits. So we're in quarantine, so a lot of people I think school is done. I think college students are kind of finishing right now. So if you have nothing to do until we actually get out of lockdown, you could take portraits of yourself. So 3 tips I have for capturing portrait will be using the space you have to your advantage, image composition, and color grading. So let's say you're in your room, but you have a small space of wall. You could take your portraits there. So just place your like camera or phone. Make a self tripod with a table and books. And, like put a cup behind the phone, and it's gonna lean there, and make sure it has like just that wall space. So you don't want a lot of negative space or a lot of objects that's gonna distract people from space for your upper body when it comes to portraits. So let's go to that. Okay, so using your space to advantage, make sure you have good lighting, because good lighting will make or break your pictures. If your room is dark, if you have another phone, get the flash on that phone, turn it around, put it in the angle so your lighting could be be aware of your background space. So if you have anything distracting in your background, take it out, move it out the way. Pose, and honestly, as a photographer, I'm not in front of the camera often, but when I am having my pictures taken from other photographers, even for me. So now I feel like how the models feel. Like it's a little awkward at first. It's like, okay, that person doesn't really know my angle. But when you're taking pictures of yourself, like portraits, you know your angle. So you know how to put the camera, how to pose, how to put your head and everything. So it's even easier for you to take them. And most importantly, relax and have fun. For image composition, so this goes back to negative space, pattern and texture. So really think about what you're wearing, how your hair is, your jewelries and stuff like that. And the pictures could be symmetrical or asymmetrical, depending on the vibe you're trying to give. So make sure like the symmetry and asymmetry is intentional, because sometimes you could put the camera there and it starts like leaning or sliding down. It's like, cool. And then the depth of field is more, is for the blurred background. So if you want to do that, I know the new iPhone, there's like a little sliding thing that you could do that on, which is really cool. So definitely use those features. Now, color grading. Color grading is the most fun part to me, because your picture could be flat, well, not flat. It could be, let's say, very orangey, but then with color grading, you could turn it greenish, bluish, pinkish. You could do whatever you want with color grading. So for the steps I have right here is for your iPhone. So after you take the picture, you could go into edits. There's a highlight section, which to me, is like the best editing tool because it smooths out all the colors to me. Like everything is, it gives the real color. It does give it a little shadowy, but if you're into that, you could keep it, or you could fix it with like the contrast and black point. Black point is gonna make your pic. Let's say if you have a black shirt or black pants, it'll make it darker, like true to color. And saturation and vibrance, that's just for like if you have vibrant clothes on, or if the background is really loud, you could use that to make it louder. Or if it's not loud, you could use that to make it louder. And the warm intent, I don't really use those all the time, but they could be helpful if you want to make your picture a little more blue, a little more pink, a little more red, or a little more green. So yeah. And then, so like I was telling you guys, during quarantine, Melissa took some portraits. Everybody was shook because I'm not in front of the camera. I'm not the person who's like, oh my God, let me take pictures of myself. But I had nothing else to do in my free time. So I decided to take some portraits, which at first it was a little tricky because I had to set up. I'm extra. So if I'm doing something, it's going to be a whole production. Like right now, if you can see, I have like an umbrella. My camera is like, it's a lot. So I do a whole production. So basically I have a backdrop, the umbrellas, the camera. So for these 3 portraits, they were all taken in different parts of my house. So using your space to your advantage, we had a plan. I never really paid attention to that plan until I was like, I need a prop for this headshot. And I used it and it looks pretty cool. And then if you have different wigs, play around with wigs, play around with makeup. And that picture to the left, is it your left? The one with the gold
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in that picture to your left, I basically use one of my mom's scarves. I'm like, oh, this could be interesting. So, use it, play around with different poses and have fun. Yeah, so take some self-portrait. And if you do, tag me at CMH Photography. I want to see some quarantine self-portrait. And for the next 2 slides, at the beginning of quarantine, so in March, I was supposed to have my second photography exhibit with Artists of Today, but due to COVID, we had to cancel it. So I decided to put those portraits on my website because I'm like, I have all this work. I don't just want to sit on it. So I put it on the website. So this was the first one. So this was for Women's History Month. So for these portraits, it was a collab. So the whole team was women entrepreneurs, like just starting out, which was really great. And so I'm like, we need to put this out and so people could see it. So you guys could go on the website, melissabstudios.com/digital exhibit to check it out. You guys could look at the picture. There's a little background story on why we picked those fabrics and who was involved in it. So you guys could check it out and leave comments. Please, I love comments and feedback. And for the second digital exhibit, which I put out this week, actually on Monday. So May is Haitian History Month. I'm Haitian American. So I had to show out for my people one time. Plus we're home. I'm like, all right, let me just take some self-portrait. So for this one, we made it a whole production also. So I took some self-portraits and then my mom wrote some spoken words in French. So there's a whole video on that on the website. So check it out. I give some history about Haitian Flag Day and about Haitian Heritage Month and everything. So you guys could check it out and leave me some feedback, leave me some comment. It's new. I didn't really push it out yet because I had to focus on this B&H event. So after this.
And I dropped a link to it in the chat. So for those of you that are in the Zoom, you can check out the chat. So we have a link you can copy and paste into your browsers right there.
So check it out and leave feedback. And so right now, see, you have to keep working. Yes, there's a pandemic, which is very sad. But the class of 2020, they still graduated. They still put all that hard work for 4 years or high school or middle school to get their degree and to move on to the next chapter of their life. And I have a lot of friends that were supposed to graduate this month. So thinking about them and about the other people that couldn't have a traditional graduation. So I've decided to have a graduation special. So it's a 1-hour special with one outfit and your graduation gown at the outdoor location of your choice. And we will follow the rules and regulations. So, 6 feet apart, mask, everything's gonna be fine. So this special is going to be available till June 30th. So you could book it on my website or on Instagram, or you guys can email me for more details on the fee and everything else. So you guys can check it out. And you guys can see my past graduation content on my website, www.melissabstudios.com, to see, do I want my pictures taken by Mélissa B Studio? Yes, you do. And then and the last is how to get in contact with me through Instagram or my website.
So Mélissa, what's been your experience as far as being a woman in the industry, a woman of color in the industry? Was it something that you found a hard time breaking in, or a hard time getting opportunities that other people were getting? Just take us a little bit into that.
At first, it was intimidating because I'm like, okay, I'm this little small girl compared to all these other guys that are really doing their thing. Like, let's say I've been to photography events, like photography workshop, and there was only a few women and even fewer women of color. So at first it's intimidating. Then I got a mentor, he's a guy. His name is Patrick Harris. He taught me a couple stuff on how to be present and really hold my ground, because it's not like if you end this or if you're starting this business, it means that you have the passion and your content speak for itself. So you could do the job. So definitely don't get in your way. It is scary at first, but push through that and hold your ground. The same way these guys could shoot and do beauty shoots and edit, the same way you can also do it. And quite frankly, models are more comfortable shooting with women than male. So yeah.
I think that goes without saying. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, especially when you see all this stuff pop up in the news about prominent male photographers, that, even the ones that, there's some that I think blur the line and gray the line, and there's some that just completely violate it. And it violates the trust of an entire industry. So it's something where, we think having people like you, who not only are you doing it for yourself and to build, your own business, your own brand, but now, you just talked about having a mentor. Mm-hmm. And it's so important to women that are going to come behind you, that now you're putting yourself in a position to not only be a successful businesswoman, but also a mentor to those people who are looking up to you. And those people who are saying, you know what, she went into a male dominated industry as a woman of color, and now she's here, and now I want to get there. So now she can mentor me.
Yeah, definitely. So a mentor will help you greatly, especially when you're first starting. Cause it could be really
it can break you. It can break. That's what she's trying to say. This industry can break you, and you will hit periods where you don't have any work and you are struggling to figure out how you're going to, is this right for me? And
exactly. So you definitely need someone in your corner to guide you and honestly even put you on. So if you have with my mentor, let's say he has 2 events in one day and he can't attend both, he could recommend you or refer you to that client, and you could do the job for them. And that means they trust you and your work enough to provide quality content for those people.
We talked about you breaking in and finding a mentor and kind of cementing yourself. Is there any initiatives that you see yourself taking on in the future? You know, we talk about growing a business, not just starting a business, but growing a business. And, you know, the more opportunities that you get, you know, so you see people that it's kind of like the same thing as athletes, going back to the communities they grew up in and the communities that raised them and giving back. You know, you're obviously very passionate about your culture. So is that something that, you know, down the line, you want to do something, you know, where whether it's going back to Haiti or whether it's, you know, dealing with the Haitian community here?
Definitely. So I'm involved or a member of a couple creative groups that do focus on doing that, giving back to the community and everything. And honestly, a major end goal, I never said this to anyone beside my mother, so I'm going to say it here. A major end goal is having a photography studio where voluntarily hiring a predominantly woman photographers or women editors, just to give them a space to be like, okay, I could start here and grow in the business. Because honestly, there's a few of us, and the ones that are really making it right now, they can't really take all of us in. Like, there's a few photographers that I look up to right now. They're really helpful. Like I hit them up, they're replying everything. But if there was like a specific community in New York, you know what I realized? Okay, I'm gonna go off a little bit.
Let's do it.
In New York, there's not a really big woman photography initiative, because there's like in Atlanta, there's a group called Black Female Photographers, but they're predominantly based on down south. So like Atlanta, Florida, down there, they have like a bigger support system because there's more of them that came together and build the initiative. But here, there is a lot of us, but we're not really connected, or we don't have a space for us, I think. But that's what like I see. Like there's not a woman, Black female photographer initiative in New York.
Well, we'll have to talk some more. I mean, I think one of the beauties of this, I mean, just the B&H space in general is trying to bring people together.
Yes.
And trying to take people such as yourself and get you out there, get your name out there, expose you to, you know, somebody might be watching, somebody might be listening and saying, you know what, I have a space that I rent. I would love to donate it to a group of, you know, Black female photographers who are trying to bring something like what you said in Atlanta to bring it here. And I think that's the strength of, you know, our voices. And what are we? Photographers, we're storytellers. We tell people stories. And sometimes our story needs to be told. And that's why, you know, platforms such as this, where we give you the platform, you know, to get out to our viewers, because there might be people out there that are listening that can help. And although we work in an industry where people so commonly say that exposure doesn't pay the bills, I mean, I can tell you a lot of opportunities and a lot of doors I've had opened up that were based on exposure, or based on someone saying, you know what, I like what you're doing there. You know, we're going to do this. You know, I've had brands reach out because I teach underprivileged kids photography, and brands that love what I'm doing, so that they're willing to donate, you know. So I think it's a great networking thing. And, you know, we can talk more after this. Yeah. And, you know, maybe if we can get you in touch with some of the right people that can take that vision that you have, because you obviously have the business acumen that I don't have. A lot of people don't have. There's a lot of people that are great with the camera, but they don't know the first thing about business.
Like you said, teaching people photography. So last summer, this is one of the reasons like, I need COVID to go, but I don't think it's going to happen. Summer is like right there. Last summer, I was a camp counselor at YMCA at Bed-Stuy, and I was teaching the performing arts group photography. And it was my first time teaching photography, and it was awesome. Like, it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. We said that I remember the kids, and now look. And then we have no summer, so I can't do it again. But literally teaching the younger generation also for them to gain an interest into like, oh, I think I like photography. Oh, I think I like creative directing, because we gave them the option to take the pictures, and also like we gave them a theme, and they had to come up with ideas to like create like not create make the theme screams out in the pictures that they were taking. So that was fun. So definitely teach the young kids about yes, they need to be in school, education first. Yes, I know. But they need a creative outlet, whether it's photography, whether it's modeling, whether it's creative directing, poetry, dancing, singing. Like, they need that creativity.
Definitely. And we need to teach them how to tell their story, how to tell the story of their communities as well. And I think that's the powerful tool that photographers have. It's like we have a benefit that, we have something that freezes time, and that we can take those images into the future with us. So yeah, like you said, reach out to the young kids, and especially for you, we're talking about women in photography, young girls that, they might be seeing a male dominated industry. Mm-hmm. And it's like, especially it's like, you look on Instagram and, the younger kids, and a lot of what's popular in our culture nowadays is you look on and it's like, a woman, what is it? What is your route? Your path leads to being an Instagram model. And the guy, his path leads to being a male photographer that shoots Instagram models. So we have to look at the influences that are out there. And it's kind of one of those things where perception is sometimes stronger than reality. What these kids are seeing isn't necessarily how it works or how it should work, but because that's what they're seeing, that's what they think reality is. So it's like, again, people like you that have the opportunity and the desire to have the impact on, not just kids and but young girls coming up to say like, hey, I could be on the other side of that chart there.
There's a few of us, so there's more than enough space for everybody, all the young girls out to join us. And we have the best store to get our equipment from, B&H. Let's
there
go.
You go. See, we didn't even tell her that came off script. I swear we did not know that was coming.
Advertising, that's very important.
It is, advertising, networking, exactly. You can't stress it enough that networking really is. I mean, every time I host somebody or I work with another photographer, it's another door that you're opening. And it's kind of like the whole 6 degrees of separation thing. I'm not just, opening my doors to you. I'm opening my doors to your entire network. And likewise, where now, your door is open to my entire network. So somebody might be watching and saying, hey, I like her work, or I like what she's about. And you said it right early on in the beginning of your presentation. A lot of it is, people liking you. It's word of mouth. Yes, you have to have a business plan, but you also just look, does somebody want to hire the woman who comes out and she's cool and she vibes with them, and they might like somebody's work a little bit better, but they don't have that same vibe with that person. So a lot of it is, you as a person.
Customer service. Like, with my background in customer service, I bring it to the business, because customer service will make or break your business. Like you said, it doesn't matter how good your pictures are, but if your customer service skills are terrible, it's not gonna work. Because I'm not saying the client is always right. You could always refer them back to the contract. That's why you have the contract. But you definitely need to be understanding and patient, very patient, and have a positive attitude when you're doing business with people.
Definitely. Well, we thank you, Mélissa. You had a lot of good insight. You have a lot of drive. You have a good spirit. I could tell even before we went on, I'm going to put her on blast here. Oh my God. She came in, it's like, she's laughing while she's nervous about going on. And I'm like, all right, it's not the typical like nerves. Like, you just have like such a bubbly, I'm trying to think of even the word. It's like that, one of those people that you talk to them and they give you energy because your energy is infectious. So we really appreciate having you on. You're welcome to come back and speak whenever. I have no doubt in my mind that all these things that you talked about, you're going to take to another level. And hopefully this just really opens you up to saying, hey, you know what? I've come this far, I can go this much further, and I can take these ideas that I have and really put them into fruition.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was very fun, and I thought I was not gonna have, a lot of stuff to talk about, but Derek.
See, now you.
Just look at the time, like, wow, this actually went by pretty quickly.
Melissa was worried. She's like, I'm going to talk for 5 minutes and that's it. And I'm like, no, There's always something there. And it's really about, it's as much about your experience as it is putting bullet points up. People just sometimes hearing that this is where you started and you got to where you wanted to be just by persevering. Sometimes that's all it takes, and if you can motivate one person, you did your job.
Yes. That's all I want. Somebody to go out there. It doesn't have to be photography, like any business idea you have. Just go out there, go for it. Make sure that you do the work that you want to be put out there. Like if you do the work, people are going to start jumping in and contact you and be with you. And then next thing you know, you have a whole team. So definitely starting a business in the creative world starts with you, and then other people will come.
Yes, and it's not going to happen overnight. So definitely. you got to take your lumps, and that doesn't mean
I'm still in my starting stage.
Look, hey, everybody has to start somewhere. I look back at my old work, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope that never sees the light of day. We've all taken our lumps. We've all had those situations where we didn't know what we were doing. Not everybody has some of the education as far as like these $100,000 art school degrees. Some people just picked up a camera because they like taking pictures and learned that way. I sure as hell taught myself, and I'm same as you. I took a lot of lumps along the way. So everything you're saying resonates with me, because I wasn't that. Somebody didn't put a camera in my hand. I started out with a base model beginner camera, and like you said, you work your way up. I really like what you said about, in regards to gear, because I think people go out and it's like, they think they have to spend $10,000 on gear to start a business, and it's not going to make your business any more successful.
Because you buy it, then you don't know how to use it. Now you got to shoot like, oh my God, how do I set the aperture? Sir.
Yeah. And you're starting in a hole. It's like, who wants to start out in that much debt? It's kind of like you said, prove yourself, find your vision, find your voice, be nice to people along the way, and you'll get a lot further.
Exactly.
So perfect. Thank you for all your insight, Melissa. It was a pleasure having you on. I'm signing off for this webinar tonight. I'm like, all right, good. That was good. I feel good vibes. You introduced good vibes into the universe. So for everybody else who's watching on Facebook live stream, and those of you joining us on Zoom, thank you all for tuning in. You have Melissa's handles right up there. I dropped them into the chat. Definitely go check out her digital exhibit work. And if you do want to reach out to her for business purposes or just to tell that she did a hell of a job, you can do that as well. So Melissa, yes, thank you again on behalf of B&H. And for those of you watching, this has been another rendition of the B&H virtual event space. We'll catch you guys next time.